Good evening and happy Easter. Tonight's devotional is a bit of a break from the trends we have been doing in the past, whether the fruit of the Spirit or the specific day of the Holy Week that we are in. Today is a shout out to Sarah Sapella and to all those other pet owners. It's a place in the scriptures that speaks to how we should relate to those that are under our care but aren't humans. And so I thought this little verse might be fun to look at. It's in the book of Proverbs, chapter 12, and we're going to be looking at verse 10. It says, "A righteous man cares for the needs of his animal, but the kindest acts of the wicked are cruel." Now, in the book of Hebrews, righteous is sometimes used interchangeably with wise or disciplined, godly, all these kinds of terms. And usually when we think of righteousness, we think of the avoidance of sin. Not a very good way of looking at it, actually. Better than avoiding sin is embracing God, because as you are running towards who you should be running towards, you don't have to worry about not sinning. As you desire things that are of God, then you don't have to worry about the temptation of sin so much. It's when we're mistakenly focused on that which we should not do that our eyes are constantly on it and our temptation grows. But righteousness in the book of Proverbs has a lot to do with the idea of being somebody that is disciplined, somebody that regularly and repeatedly does what they should do and what they know to do. A righteous person, in other words, cares for his animal. It's just that simple. It has been given to your care. Now, you might think that this is an exception. This is a rare verse. This is just one verse in the book of Proverbs. It's not really one of the main thoughts or theses, I don't even know if that's a word, if you will, of the scriptures. But note these things. Number one, when they were instructed as to how to harvest their fields, they were supposed to leave the edges and the corners unharvested. And there were several reasons for that. One was so that the poor and the needy of their village, of their town, of their region could come and harvest and would have food available to them if they were willing to work for it. But it was also supposed to be left unharvested as food for the wild beasts and the animals which were created on the very same day of the creative week as we were. As we take the land and produce crop on it, if we do not create abundance and yield for the wild animals, God is not happy. We know this because Israel was punished amongst other things for never giving the land its rest of every seventh year. And one of the reasons it was supposed to be given its rest is because the land itself belongs to God, and we are but tenants on it. We were supposed to care for the land. We could harvest of that which naturally grew of its own, but we could not plant and sow that year. But the other reason was so there would be an abundance of harvest for the wild animals of the world. Now, God is not against us eating animals. And these seems to be somewhat juxtaposed, but he is for us providing for their needs as a valuable end in of itself. A righteous person cares for the needs of his animals, and not just his animals, but the animals of the world. We are supposed to not just create enough for ourselves, but we are supposed to create so much that there is an abundance for the world around us, for the poor, for the wild beasts, and for the foreigner and stranger. So in your workaday world, find a way to create surplus, and then find a way to bless the world that God has made. St. Francis of Assisi had it right, and Brother Sun and Sister Moon. We are God's caretakers of all that he has made, including the deer and the antelope, wherever they may play. I hope that today, of all days, this Easter day is a day of joy for you, and that God our Father blesses you and keeps you. He causes his face to shine upon you and is gracious unto you. And may we then go and bless the entire world, not just the world of humanity. And fittingly enough, there's my dog Nick, who's been well fed amongst other things today by a juicy ham bone. So hopefully God is pleased with me today as well. God bless and good night.